Also known as Wednesday 13. Welcome to Brutal Planet Magazine.
Welcome to Brutal Planet Magazine.
All compliment, but you're welcome to Brutal Planet Magazine.
You're listening to Brutal Planet.
Hey, what's up, everybody? TJ Pierce here from Drana Pool, and you're listening to Brutal Planet Media right here. Get yourself.
Hey, I'm Steve from Within the Ruins, and this is Brutal Planet.
Greetings, Brutal Planet. We're live with the guys from the band Rootbrain, which is a kind of new band, but you guys are veterans of the metal world. So welcome.
Hello.
Hello.
Nice to talk to you, Dustin. And hello to everybody who's watching.
Yeah, thank you guys too for coordinating this. Victor, you're in Germany as we discussed, and Thomas is in Finland. So I know it's tough to make these time difference work and everything, and I appreciate you guys working with me on that.
No problem. It's perfect timing for me, at least.
Awesome.
Same
Well,
here.
Let's talk about the band. So first off, I want to kind of like let people know what you guys' background is, because was it Thomas? Were you in Triptykon?
No.
Okay.
Victor is in Triptykon. Yeah.
Victor was in Triptykon. So Triptykon, like, yeah, one of the original members from Triptykon was in Celtic Frost, which is like one of the OG metal bands. So you guys have basically, I guess maybe both of you can take turns on this, but kind of tell me a little bit about your background in the world of metal and how you came to form Rootbrain.
Do you want to start, Thomas?
Well, yeah. I've been playing in Finnish metal bands pretty much since '95, and yeah, I've been playing in bands like Illenium, Kuolemanlaakso, the Nibiruan, and they are all like enjoyed decent success inside Finland and some cult reputation, but not like a huge commercial success. And
Sure.
then I've been doing a lot of like also freelancing in other bands, like just stepping in for the bass duties in other metal bands around Finland. And yeah, but basically now I have 3 decades of history in recording and touring metal bands now.
Veteran.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
Yeah. 3 decades, even though you're only 21. So that's
Exactly. It's live fast, die young.
Yeah.
And yeah, the band was also, the Rootbrain was just a result of that, because I got to know all the other guys during the road, and all of the guys are like special people that I've bumped into during the last decades, and when the stars were aligned in a good way, then there was an opportunity to actually get all these guys into the same band, and yeah, here we are.
What about you, Victor? Tell me a little bit about your background.
Well, I joined my first proper band in 2001, Dark Fortress, and I've been doing Dark Fortress for over 20 years. We split up in 2023. Still, we're gonna make a live record, even though that's only gonna be official on Friday.
Oh, nice. Breaking
But
news.
yeah.
Breaking news.
Breaking news, exactly. It's gonna come out in January. But I'm not here to make advertising for Dark Fortress.
Sure.
Anyways, I also then later for 1 year was a live member of Celtic Frost
Oh, wow.
in the year 2000. I hope I'm not getting it wrong. 2007. And well, then when Celtic Frost fell apart, then Tom from Celtic Frost started Triptykon, and I was a part of Triptykon since the inception of the band, basically. So Triptykon is my other main band now since 2009, and yeah, now I'm also part of Rootbrain. It all happened basically because I've been working with Thomas band, Kuolemanlaakso in the studio.
Mm-hmm.
Like I I'm also an engineer and music producer, and I produced their 3 records. And that's how we met each other for the first time in 2012 and became really good friends, I would say. And yeah, then when Thomas started Rootbrain, all of a sudden I was in the band without even really knowing it.
Just kind of organically like melded
Yeah,
into the band.
he's a sneaky bastard. Basically, he booked me and my studio to record the debut album Breakwater, because at that point, Rootbrain was still a trio consisting of Thomas as main songwriter and bass player, then Helle on second guitar or rhythm guitar, and Fat Tony on drums. And they came to my place to record the instrumental tracks of the album. And at the end of the session, all of a sudden, I was the 4th member. It happened kind of organically, you know. I mean, I was really digging the vibe of the band, and I also really liked the music. And I thought, wow, this could be something. And yeah, you know, then the drums were in the back, and the rhythm guitars, and the bass. And then they thought, like, yeah, you know, Sami is a fantastic rhythm guitar player, really, but he's not like super comfortable as like lead guitar player. And the guys said, like, yeah, you know, we think the lead guitar should be recorded by a lead guitarist. So Victor, don't you wanna do that? It's like, yeah, sure, why not? And it's actually always fun to play in the studio. And so all of a sudden I ended up being part of the band.
So let's talk about the music a little bit, because like I was telling Thomas before you jumped in, it's I always appreciate bands nowadays that are kind of doing melodics, like songwriting, and it's like actually a song. It's not just like raw the whole time, which I also love, don't get me wrong. But I kind of got, listening to the stuff, I kind of got vibes of like Alice in Chains a little bit, and the way you guys describe it is black grunge, which I like a lot. So I guess tell me a little bit about, you know, the style and the influence and kind of where you guys are headed with everything.
Well, I think the most obvious influence is just music from the 90s, or like metal and rock music from the 90s, because that was the age when we were like teenagers and soaked all the influences in, and everything hit like a bomb at that time. And so that's when the real influences have been taken. And you know, nowadays it doesn't go like that you hear like a nice song and yeah, I'm gonna steal this and I'm gonna use this, but it's way more like a delicate process, and it's very like unconscious. But yeah, I'd say 90s music, and for me, Finnish bands, Amorphis, Sentenced. Then there was a lot of stuff from Sweden. The whole Gothenburg scene was huge for me for a while, and I'd say Edge of Sanity, just the way that Dance Farner was combining like different elements and bringing this like all kinds of different genres into the death metal, that was just inspiring as a concept. And
I forgot about Amorphis. Finland is kind of like the quiet Scandinavian country when it comes to that. I feel like Norwegian and Sweden have kind of like a pretty high reputation for like the death metal scene. Like you mentioned Gothenburg, but like Finland puts out a lot of great stuff, and I don't think they get enough credit.
And it's a bit different. It's a bit more melancholic and maybe a bit
darker.
There's a bit more, maybe a bit more of this Slavic influence.
Melancholy, I like that. Yeah.
Because the Swedish bands are like melodically, they are more like doing the Iron Maiden stuff, but with the Swedish touch on top of that.
Yeah, totally. Like the In Flames type stuff, even At the Gates and all those kind of bands that they're kind of bringing a little bit more of a like that Maiden feel to like with a deathier sound.
Yeah.
The origins of metalcore in a lot of ways.
Yeah. I just happened to see In Flames live like 2 or 3 weeks ago. So there you go. I think they're still being quoted as one of the main influential bands for metalcore, which came later, and at least they also got a big part of the success then.
Yeah. Sweden's had a lot of influential bands too. Like Meshuggah is another one that I don't think that their influence gets enough credit on the way metal sounds today.
Yeah, they created a completely new genre and did their own stuff. So maximum respect for that. But yeah, about back to the influences, everybody is of course talking about Alice in Chains and all the grunge, but all that comes pretty much from Jules's vocals and the vocal harmonies. So if you kind of strip the music, if you strip the vocals out of the music, it's quite metal based, the background going there.
Well, I mean, even with the vocals, it's metal based, but I like that it's not like the vocal style it doesn't sound like a typical European band because it's kind of got that like 90s influence. But also when you're talking about the 90s influence stuff, I love the cover you guys did of the Garbage song. It's kind of like it's a different take on it without the keyboards and stuff. But when I heard it, I went, "Oh wow, I totally know this song." But I really like the kind of more rock spin you guys put on it because the original song has a lot more synths and stuff like that.
Yeah,
absolutely. We basically kind of tried to avoid using any synths. Was kind of also one of the tasks. To try to transfer all the important aspects of the songs to guitars and make it a proper rock version and make it a Rootbrain version. I think always like with cover versions, it's always a little bit a thing. I think it only makes sense to make a cover version if you can really make something unique out of it. If you just play the song as it was, it's a bit pointless because usually it's not getting as good as the original. And I'm not saying it's as good as the original or better or worse, but it's different and it's a legit take on that song. And I think it sounds like Rootbrain.
Yeah, I think that's the best attitude to have with covers. There's this meme that we always joke about. It's like making fun of cover bands. It's like cover bands are like, hey, let's play someone else's music, only shittier.
Yeah, that's unfortunately quite accurate.
Yeah. So it's like put your own spin on it. And I mean, the people that do that too can almost give the song new life. You look at like what Trent Reznor did with that Johnny Cash song, or Johnny Cash did with, sorry, I got that backwards. What Johnny Cash did with that Trent Reznor song, he took like that synth-based NIN song and made it into like a folk song.
Exactly. And then is it a perfect circle? The Imagine by them.
Oh yeah, I love that.
I dig that because they bring their own it's completely the perfect circle vibe, and it's so dark but still keeps the essential elements of the original. So that's such a great example. That record, all the covers on that, they did the Depeche Mode cover that's like a completely out of left field take on that song, and a bunch of great stuff on there. And it's a delicate process because you can't really just pick your favorite songs and make covers from them because most of them are already awesome as they are. So finding the right song, it has to be a great song, the original, but there has to be also some things that you can actually twist into your own mold and make it even better at some aspects. So
how long do you actually have that idea that we would do the number one crush song? For quite some while.
How did I get it?
Yeah, no. Since when did you have the idea actually in the head?
It was a few years ago. I was at a flea market and there was CDs, and I bought for like €1 Garbage compilation, like Absolute Garbage or what
Greatest
was it?
Hits.
And then Greatest Hits, and then I was just listening to it in the car, and actually this like number one crush I wasn't even that familiar. I had heard the song, but it wasn't like. I'm really into Garbage. I have these periods when I'm really digging the band. I like the way how they they can write awesome songs and make like hooks and melodies that are not obvious but are still really hit potential, rich in that. But anyway, yeah, I was just listening to that CD in my car, and when that song came, it had something really like there was just this dark vibe, and I was also listening to the words that it's a bit like
Butch Vig too from Garbage.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy is probably more responsible for the 90s sound than anyone.
Yes.
He produced Nevermind, you know, so
yeah.
And Smashing Pumpkins and stuff like that.
He didn't mix it.
He didn't mix it, yeah.
Yeah.
But he engineered.
But it was
it.
Andy Wallace, I think, right?
Was it Andy Wallace who mixed Nevermind? I would have to look that up.
So. I think so. I hope I'm
probably someone like Andy Wallace or some crazy. What's his name? No, but that's another thing that I think, like, I'm such a nerd for that kind of production stuff too. Like I'll dig it, like, to read the liner notes and be like, oh, who produced this? What people played on it? So,
it was Andy Wallace. Yeah.
Andy Wallace.
Yeah.
I knew it. That guy's name is on almost everything from that era. That's good.
Yeah. He's amazing.
Yeah. Do you guys know who Rick Beato is?
Yeah, I think sometimes he pops up in my Instagram feed.
He's a YouTuber, and that he did a killer interview with Butch Vig about the making of Nevermind. That if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend. But
okay, cool.
Anyway. Okay, I have to check it out. Yeah.
I thought it was funny reading the names, because you mentioned Fat Tony earlier. Just a quick side. I was like, all the names in the band are like European names, and then you get to the end and it's Fat Tony. But
yeah, he's our secret weapon to conquering, the States.
You got to have a Fat Tony.
Yeah, Tony is his first name, by the way.
Yeah.
He's not even very fat.
I don't think his passport says Fat Tony.
It sounds like a mafia name, it's like someone you would like it from a gangster movie, like, that's Fat Tony over there.
Yeah, they have it in The Simpsons. Yeah.
With the recording of you guys' stuff, another thing that I really dig is it sounds organic, like it sounds raw. It's not like on the grid. Like, so much of the stuff that comes out today is so like mechanically wired to that Pro Tools grid that I always appreciate when I hear something like, oh, this sounds like it was like recorded with real drums and like a live band. How did you guys work that process?
For the drum recordings, I actually had Thomas and Helle in the same room like Tony. Tony actually used a click, but he likes to kind of ignore it sometimes. It's just like there as a
guy,
pace caper, basically, but he doesn't even try to be exactly on the grid, but he has a very, very good groove and is great at ignoring it. And because also the bass and one rhythm guitar were already like guiding him, he wasn't held back by any like fixed guide track or something, so he could just like play quite freely, and we always chose the takes that simply felt best. And when I listened to it, I switched off the click, and I mean, there's not much editing on the drums because it wasn't necessary. And if I would have moved or quantized everything to the grid, it would have lost a lot of the soul and the attitude and the power. And I mean, it is tight after all. It's not like sloppy or.
It doesn't sound sloppy.
Exactly, because I wouldn't like that, but yeah, due to the fact that he's a really good drummer and has a very good pocket, I would say, it's just possible to keep the real performance and the real timing and not to do much about it. And I think we even kept a lot of the basses from those live takes and just did a few overdubs later. So I think that's how we simply achieved that kind of live-ish feeling. And yeah, thank you very much for recognizing it. Because
I think that was a very nice compliment to get.
Yeah, I got in an argument with someone a while back who was also like into production. I do a little production, like I'm not an expert or anything, but I record and mess around with it. So I have a little bit of experience. And this guy, we got in an argument over drum tracks. I was like, you got to play to a click. You got it. And he's like, no, you don't. He's like, you think Led Zeppelin played to a click? And that got me thinking. And then Rick Beato did an interview with Jimmy Chamberlain from Smashing Pumpkins, and he was talking about how he's like, there's no way I could have played some of this stuff to a click. And if I would have, it would have lost the soul and kind of like the push pull that makes the songs great, you know, between the drums and the guitars and everything. So
of course that depends on what kind of music you do, if you're a meshuggah or something. And also the drummer, because I think the mistake that bands do is that they play it with the click or without, but when it gets then quantized afterwards, then that you kind of just wipe out the whole style of the drummer, so there's like no identity left. So that's the worst way to do it.
Yeah. And
I think in the studio, like recording to a click has a lot of advantages, but I'm also not like religiously insisting on it. There are cases where it's just better to go with the natural flow, but that's something that I would also usually decide on the spot. Like a couple of years ago, I was working with a local rock band, and the drummer was really, really good and had a good groove, but he simply couldn't play to a click. Like he never did that. And it's like, after like one take or like after a few seconds, I realized like, no, let's throw that out the window. That doesn't make any sense. And it sounds great after all. So why insisting on something just for the sake of it? And I also don't think that you always need a click. I mean, I wouldn't really want to record a tech death album without a click or without a grid.
Right.
Quite a pain in the ass.
Editing that, after the fact. Oh my god.
Yeah. But there is music. There is music that kind of wants a click, and there is music that really doesn't need that. And I think if you record something or produce something, you should always do what's best for the music.
Great call. I couldn't have said it better.
But this is really something that Victor is really, really good and special in this. And when we started Rootbrain, for 1 or 2 years, me and Helle were basically just, we both had a long, like 15 years of our first bands, our first proper bands, both being the band leaders, and then it ended, and then we were just sitting there and talking that what would we do differently and what sucks in the metal scene nowadays. And we came to the conclusion that everything's so clinical and polished, and there's no danger, and really everything sounds the same. And then during the 10 years, I had basically already been, or well, maybe a bit less, but co-working with Victor. He was completely different than all the studio engineers I've been working with in Finland, because in Finland it's much more like engineer work, and everything always starts like, and it's more like, you know, being afraid of the mistakes. So it's really, you have to measure everything with some kind of an app that everything is like in a robot like order. But then most albums get done just like that the drummer, the super technical drummer, plays his tracks, and then it gets quantized until it's like a cyborgian drum take, and then everything else gets played on top or copy pasted on top there. Like there's no human touch, and there's like there's no mistakes, but it also doesn't have any like
it doesn't breathe.
And it doesn't have any personality. Also, you can change all the players and nobody can notice.
Exactly. I like the word you use, clinical. I think that's like the best word I've heard to describe it. And sometimes you want clinical, right? Like if you're doing industrial, like you said, tech death. But
exactly. But with Victor, it was like always that there was a take, and we were already like, oh, I was a bit sloppy there, and it's a bit, the tempo is going a bit down there, and then we're just listening, putting the click away, and then if it sounds good, if it grooves, then we just keep it and go with that.
Yeah.
But that was kind of like it's so obvious and so natural, but it was kind of like mind blowing to come from the Finnish mixing culture to Victor's studio, and there was this like so much more organic approach. Same thing with the little like there can be a bit like tune wise also something that there's some bends going too bendy or too little bendy, but if it sounds like nasty in a nice way, yeah, we go with that.
Yeah.
So we appreciate the ugliness and also like a nice mistakes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like it when things sound like shit or like not
No,
done.
that's not. Yeah,
Of course, but perfection is an illusion anyways, and I never go for perfect. I go for awesome. If it's awesome, then okay, let's go on with it.
Yeah, you don't want to. I use Axl Rose as a verb because of how long he took on that Chinese Democracy album. Like, you don't want to Axl Rose your project where it's just like you'll never release it. You know, you get to nothing's ever going to be perfect if you're an artist. You're like, oh, that could be better. That could be better. So I liked what I think it was Jamie Josta from Hatebreed or in an interview he said, like, sometimes you just got to walk away. You can't, you know, you just got to know when to walk away. Like, this is good. You know, I could spend the rest of my life perfecting it.
It's the magic of the moment. Of course, every album, every song pretty much I've been recording or involved in making like 5 years after recording. Of course, I would do something differently and arrange my bass part differently or write the song differently. But that's not the point. It's just about the magic of the moment.
Yeah, and it needs to feel right and feel good when you do it and when you finish it. Like if you record something and you just don't feel good about it or confident, then I would of course do it again. But yeah.
And there are some things that we have walked back and done again with the wisdom of hindsight also.
Yeah.
That's the beautiful thing about music too, is it's like there's really no limitations other than your own imagination or, you know, willingness to create something.
Yes.
Where does the name Rootbrain come from? Is there any kind of an interesting story behind that?
No.
How about your hair, man?
Oh, yeah, I still have some roots in my the root mullet. Yeah.
Yeah, he's the Rootbrain, and if you wouldn't hide his hair behind his beautiful head, you would see the Rootbrain.
Yeah. I've had a pretty long dreads for the last over 20 years, but for me it was just it comes from Darwin theory about plant intellect.
Okay.
And I just read some articles and this image got stuck in my head. This like it was like this kind of a bit like a sketch by Leonardo da Vinci, but turned upside down so that the head of the dude was like beneath the soil and the human body was kind of the tree growing from there, and it was kind of this image that got stuck in here, and also the word, because root and brain, it's brutal stuff. Yeah, so I think it's a good name for a band.
It is. It has a lot of.
We have both. We have
there's
roots
a lot
and
of
we
ways
have
you could interpret it.
Yeah, sorry, I spoke on you.
No, there's a little bit of a delay, I think. So no worries. Yeah. You guys are on the other side of the planet.
Yeah.
Well, what do you guys have planned for the future? You put a record out in 2023, and that single. Do you have a new record on the burner?
Yes, or we have an EP. It's a 4-song EP that the number one Crush single is the first single from the EP, but the rest 3 songs are our own songs, new songs, and that will come out in January through Corpse Paint Records. So
awesome. Shout out to Andrew.
Yes.
Player. Are you guys going to be coming over here and doing shows in the US, do you think?
I hope so.
Let's stay positive. Of course, we would love to, but that's if. I mean, I've been to the US a couple of times. I even played a tour with Celtic Frost back then. We had a bunch of shows with Triptykon. I even once made it with Dark Fortress, but I know it's difficult. Always the visa application process. It costs a lot of money. So I think Rootbrain still has to grow a little bit before we are eligible for a visa, I'm afraid. But never say no. I would love to.
Yeah. I'm the same way. I need to get over to Europe. My cousin Eric, who runs Brutal Planet with me, he's over there all the time. He hangs out with Sabaton, so yeah, those are like his homies. He's been such a huge super fan of that band too. Like, I think he's probably responsible for a large portion of their fan base here in the US. Go listen to Sabaton.
Okay, well, let's say it like that. I've heard that they're really nice guys.
Yeah, they're very nice guys. I've talked to them a couple times over Zoom like this, but never had the pleasure of meeting. So at some point, hopefully, if you guys don't get here soon, maybe I'll be over in Europe and I can check you out.
Yeah, maybe. And if you come to Finland, ride a line.
It's a distant dream at the moment, but I'm gonna stay positive.
Cool. Have you ever been to Europe or not?
I've been to Germany actually. Okay. I went to Frankfurt. It was a long time ago though. It was literally right before 9/11 happened.
Ooh, okay.
And I was dating an Austrian woman at the time, and so I flew into Frankfurt, and then I rode the train across Germany. I was blown away how beautiful Germany was. I stayed a lot in Austria, Vienna, but didn't really get much outside of that. Like a lot of the Austrian countryside, I rode around with some of her friends and stuff. And
Austria is really beautiful for most of parts, I think. Austria is kind of spectacular when it comes to the whole nature, like the whole alpine stuff.
Yeah. One of her friends was a cement truck driver, and while she was at work one day, I just drove around with him and on the countryside, and it was amazing.
Were you driving with a cement truck?
Yeah, with a cement truck driver. He was just going to different places. Yeah, like I got to go to this place and do some cement or whatever. But it was like we drove all around the Austrian countryside on the back roads, through the mountains and stuff. And I have very vivid memories of it. So
cool.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's pretty much all the questions I have for you guys. Tell everyone where they can find you on socials and all that kind of stuff.
Yep, you can find us from Instagram, Rootbrain Official, and Facebook, Rootbrain Fin. And that's pretty much our social media
presence right now.
And then you can order our debut album, Breakwater, through Record Shop X. They have a worldwide shipping, so
we'll tag you guys up too in the Facebook post, so everyone who follows the Brutal Planet page can see where to find you guys real easy.
And of course, the future stuff is going to be via Corpse Paint Records.
Corpse Paint Records. Andrew's a great guy, man. You need people like that in the music world that love music, you know. And I'm one of those people myself. So when I see it in other people, we always bond well.
Yeah, he is a true enthusiast, and I love that about him. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I met him through a publicist, and basically because of the I Am project, which is now Sun Don't Shine.
Yeah,
just through that, like getting to know Kenny from Typo Negative, which is a band I grew up listening to, and Kirk from Crowbar, which is another band I grew up listening to. So props to Andrew, great dude, and he brought them together. So you guys, I'm sure, are in great hands.
Yes,
I think so.
And we are honored to be, in the same roster with those legends. So
yeah, that's amazing.
Cool.
Well, the music's great, you guys. I really hope everyone will go check it out. It's Rootbrain. The album, the full-length album that's out now is called Breakwater, correct? And you guys got an EP coming out in January. And the single, check out the Garbage single too. The Garbage cover. That sounded kind of weird. The Garbage single.
Yeah.
Check out the Garbage cover. Because it's great. It's a great reinterpretation of that song.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you guys so much. Please come back and talk to me again. Maybe after the first of the year when the EP is slated to come out, or when you guys have some new news.
That would be fantastic. It would be great.
That would be nice. And thanks for having us.
Absolutely, man. Very much appreciate you guys. And we will see y'all next time. Keep it brutal. Check out Rootbrain, and we'll see y'all next time.
See you next time.
Peace.